Yesterday, when I got home from work, Mrs. Disgruntled gave me some devastating news. One of the worst sentences you can hear in the 21st century. The internet isn't working. Mrs. Disgruntled had already tried turning things off and on again, unplugging and plugging wires in, all to no avail. But around 20 minutes after I got home from work, and roughly 2.5 hours after the internet had gone down, my service provider sent me a text message. Your internet isn't working. That's like getting a message from the Met Office telling you it's going to rain that afternoon, 2 hours after you're already piss wet through. So then I had to make the most infuriating type of phone call of the modern age. Contacting your internet service provider. So I dialed the number and then listened to a 2-minute automated message explaining that because of coronavirus, they don't have as many staff or as many engineers as usual. So their service won't be up to their usual high standards. And that would be fine if there was the slightest chance that I might have got to speak to a fucking human rather than being endlessly bounced around an automated switchboard. So when I finally got to the options, it went thus. If you have a problem with your television, press 1. If there is a problem with your broadband, press 2. So I picked option 2 and then got another automated message explaining that 90% of problems can be fixed by visiting the company's website. If I could get onto the website, I wouldn't be fucking telephoning. The only conceivable reason that I'm calling up to report a problem with my broadband rather than doing it online is because I can't use my fucking computer. Seriously, why would anyone call their broadband provider if they could get online? It's not like I've ever called up my mobile phone company, sat in a queue for 20 minutes just to tell them everything's working fucking fine. And this led to another automated message explaining that their engineers were working hard and I would be back online as soon as possible. As soon as possible, is that 10 minutes or 8 months? And then I got one final message explaining that once my internet was working again, I would receive a text. And I got that text message 14 hours after the internet was functioning. And I know when the internet came back on, because in the early hours of the morning, my phone went sodding mad. It's usually quite fun getting notifications over social media, but not so much when you've got to be up for work 2 hours later. But this whole episode made me realise how reliant we are on technology. Now, I'd just done a 12-hour shift at work, and when I got home, all I really wanted to do was run a bath, get myself clean and relax for 15 to 20 minutes. And usually, I'd sit in the bath watching something on YouTube. But the internet wasn't working. So I called through to Alexa to play some music, but of course, she wasn't working either. So I had a bath with no electronic entertainment, like I was living in a sodding third world country or back in 1996. But after cooking dinner, the trauma really set in, as Mrs. Disgruntled and I realised we couldn't download any television programmes, meaning we couldn't continue with the box set which we're currently watching. Because once you get married, you are legally obligated to watch nothing but box sets. Because once you say, I do, the concept of watching an episode of television and then waiting a full week for the next episode is unimaginable. You can binge watch 7 seasons of a drama series coming out when season 8 is being broadcast, but you won't touch that last series until all of them have been on TV. Honestly, once you've been married a few years, box sets are as addictive as heroin. Personally, I blame the whole binge watching thing on Netflix. But my internet was down, so couldn't fucking watch Netflix either. So the missus and I were at a total loss. It didn't matter that we've got 400 TV channels and around 800 DVDs. We couldn't watch our box set, so the night was ruined. And then, when my good lady wife had gone to bed, I watched the news. When's the last time you watched an entire news broadcast? When I'm making a video about something in the news, I will go through various sources. I go through many different websites. I'll watch BBC News, Channel 4, ITV, Sky, a few American channels and the very reliable and unbiased Al Jazeera. Death to the West! But last night, I just watched ITV News. And I only picked that one because there was a chance Lucy Verasamy would be doing the weather. Just a quick side note. In the guest bedroom at Disgruntled Towers, there are pictures on the wall, but one can only be seen if you're either sat on or laying in the guest bed. And that's a photograph of ITV weather girl Lucy Verasamy. And the sole reason for it being there is so that when we have guests, they wonder, why the fuck is there a picture of Lucy Verasamy there? So I went to bed last night feeling somewhat lost because I'd had to do an entire evening without the internet. So, ISIS, you cave-dwelling goat fuckers and all of your affiliates, if you want to cripple the great Satan and the rest of the civilised world, stop telling your followers to run around stabbing people or going to busy places and detonating themselves. If you want to destroy the Western world, find out how to turn off Wi-Fi and we'll be back in the fucking dark ages before the weekend. So now my broadband is working again, I have a greater appreciation of it. And it also got me thinking that I look back at the 1990s, the decade when I was a teenager, with rose-tinted spectacles, thinking it was some sort of utopia. But actually, the years before the internet were much less convenient. For example, if you were a teenage lad in the 1990s, before mobile phones were really a thing, and you wanted a phone conversation with a teenage girl that you liked, you had to phone her house phone, and the first person you'd speak to was her dad. And he knew, no matter how polite you were trying to be, you wanted to fuck his daughter. Pornography was softcore and only available in magazines, meaning if you wanted to see a hardcore porn film, you had to wait for someone who had an older brother to get back from a holiday from France. If you were feeling low and needed support, there weren't people there for you at the end of a webcam. It could be very lonely. And if you're under 25 years old, imagine wanting to watch a film, but you had to wait until the weekend and then go to a shop and rent it, and then take it back the next day. It was a simpler time, for people who grew up to be cynical bastards like me. I apologise for going off on a somewhat nostalgic ramble there. I've got no way to end this video, so thanks for watching, and I'm going to go home now because it's pissing down with rain.